ESPN just put out their new mock draft, and I think that this is very important, okay? The Rangers have to take a superstar at number 3. I can't reiterate this enough. Jack Leiter has to be a superstar.
Yes.
He can't just be a starting pitcher. And I know that's a lot of pressure. We can't keep drafting average Major League Baseball players.
Right.
And even though that's good, you want to draft out of this draft, and you don't have a second and third round pick because of signing Seager and Semien. It's a little bit more difficult to draft some average guys out of this because of your lack of picks. But the Rangers are going to have to draft, and I know he's not draftable because where you're from. They have to draft Yordan Alvarez. They have to draft Jose Altuve. They have to draft Kyle Tucker. They have to draft Alex Bregman. They have to draft Pena. And I know some of that is through international signing and not just drafting. So there's 2 avenues to do it when you're talking about Latin players. But this is very important that whoever this number 3 pick is, that it is a future superstar. When they come up, they're Juan Gonzalez. They're Pudge Rodriguez. So the Georgia Tech kid, Parada, I don't have his name written down.
Parada.
He has to be he has to be the next to Vaughn Rodriguez for the Texas Rangers. If you draft Elijah Green with the number 3 overall pick, he needs to end up being Aaron Judge or Juan Gonzalez.
There you go.
If he ends up being, no offense to my brother, right, David Murphy. I love David Murphy. But if we draft David Murphy with the 3rd overall pick, and that's a big leaguer for 10 years, that is going to be considered to me a failure of a pick.
Okay.
And we won't know that. I think people need to understand this because you made a comment the other day, and I was like, you know what? I want to talk about this. You said, I don't really want to draft him because we have Seager and Semien. If you draft a high school shortstop or second baseman, they're 5 years away from making the major leagues. So if you draft shortstop, or if you draft I'm sorry, I don't have it pulled up. My computer's not working. If you draft Tamar Johnson, I believe, who's a second baseman. Holliday's a shortstop. They're both high school guys. You're not looking at them as helping your major league team most likely till 2026 or 2027. You really have no clue where you're going to be with Seager and Semien in 2027.
Yeah, my mind was just thinking that those guys have 11 million years on their contract, and so but you're right, they could be tradable at some point down the road.
But I also see your point in this. If a third baseman was there at number 3, I'd be like, okay, but what about Josh Young? What about Josh Smith? What about Ezekiel Duran? And I know Duran's probably not a future third baseman in the major leagues. He's, unfortunately, I think probably more of a second baseman.
Okay.
And maybe you can transition him to left field, but then it goes into what's Jordan Foscue.
Right.
So I do get the concern from Ranger fans of, do I really want to take a second baseman, third baseman?
Yeah, an infielder type guy.
Well, gosh, we have 7 of those already type of deal where I think Elijah Green, I'm going to just say, I think that's going to be the pick.
Do you think the Rangers' mindset with Chris Young, maybe it is a JD thing too, they realize they have to do this, but the Rangers' mindset is now we are far away from getting players that we are just trying to save money in our draft? Because with Leiter, it feels like they said we're going to take the talent first.
I think it's a major mistake in the first round not to get the best player on the board.
Okay.
And because of this, 5 to 10% of the people you draft will make the major leagues for one day or more. So you're going to save $300,000, $550,000 on that, your first overall pick, whether you're picking 3rd or 10th or whatever. You're like, you know what? He's better. We like him better, but he wants $200,000 over slot, and this guy wants $200,000 under slot, and we can take him. There better be no difference on your board there. Because if there's a difference, all right, I saved $400,000. All right, let's go over your 2nd through 10th round picks that you just created approximately $200,000 more for.
How many of those guys are showing up on a lot?
90% of those guys aren't even going to make the major leagues for one day. So what are we saving our money for? Borderline guys that will probably never make the major leagues. And this is coming from a guy anybody who's played Major League Baseball, if you talk to 100% of former Major League Baseball players, including Chris Young, who's now your general manager, he will tell you how difficult it is to make the major leagues, and then how even more difficult it is to find your role on a major league team for a long time. And we played with guys, Chris Young, me, whoever, my dad, played with guys that were unbelievable in A-ball and AA. And people are going to be spending thousands of dollars in this room today on prospects that have never played in the majors that are in A-ball, okay? I spent a lot of money, not a lot, but I bought a whole bunch of Evan Carter cards. He's a prospect.
That's right, yeah.
for the Texas Rangers, okay? And so in that, he's in A-ball and he's struggling. It's kind of ticking me off. It's funny how when you invest money, you're like, you need to play better, 19-year-old. There's a good chance Evan Carter never plays a day in the major leagues. To be honest with you, just to be dead honest, I've played with Evan Carters before, second-round picks. They look like they can be something, and then they never spend one day in the major leagues because at some point their weaknesses they can't overcome. And there's only 26 spots on a major league team. There's only 5 outfield spots on a major league team, 5 times 30. There's only 150 outfielders in the world at a time that are in the major leagues. Is Evan Carter going to be one of the 150 best outfielders in the world 3 to 5 years from now? That's the goal he has to reach to become a major leaguer.
Aaron Judge is older. It took him a while.
Right.
Nelly Cruz.
He was a
older.
college
yeah,
guy.
Nelly Cruz was older. It took him a long while.
Cruz
to
is a
find
better
spot.
example because he was closer to 28 or 29 when he made it. Aaron Judge won. He was second in MVP his rookie year at 25 years old.
When Josh Hamilton, everybody talks about him like he's just different. When those
drugs,
kinds of guys, well, whenever they're in the minor leagues though, and they're that kind of talent,
right?
Like you guys, do y'all see it? Like, are you like, oh yeah, he's going quick? Is it one of those like that don't think meat guys? He's gonna go.
But then there's guys where you're like, I can't believe how good he was in the minors and why he can't do it in the majors.
Okay.
Plenty of guys like that. I'll give you an example. He wasn't awesome in the minors, but I think a lot of people felt like when they watched Drew Henson play, they're like, that dude's a everyday major league player and maybe a future all-star. And then he got so bad at AAA, he's like, I quit.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys are going to give me a free ride to be a quarterback in the NFL.
And then he turned into a stud QB.